Welcome to another episode of Still Standing. I am here with my friend Lamont, which you will see in a minute, at Lake August Gardens. It is so beautiful out here. So I was sitting out here and I just decided to write something down. So I want to read it to you. Some of us take advantage of what God's creation is in nature. I'm here with my friend Lamont talking about the healing attributes of nature and how he helps people navigate their healing through nature. So just wait and see, guys. I am so excited about this interview. What's up, everybody? This is my friend Lamont. And Lamont had asked me to write down affirmation, so I'm going to read it real quick. My affirmation for today is, I affirm that I will find more solitude and peace taking in God's creation in nature. What you think about that?
I think it's a great affirmation, and I think affirmations are so powerful because they really allow us to create ourselves into a new state of being,
Right.
which is kind of what we were talking about earlier. So I just want to say thank you so much for having me be a part of your podcast. I think this is an outstanding opportunity to give voice to what really matters for you. And so when I saw your first episode, I was just so inspired to see who you've grown into being. And I'm so glad that you invited me to be a part of it. So thank you so very much.
Thank you for being here. Like, we've known each other for a long time. And it's like been how long since we've seen each other? It's been
I
a
know.
minute.
Well, I mean, we certainly probably before the pandemic.
Yes.
So
Yep.
we've gone through the
We
pandemic.
were in the city then.
Yeah, we were living in the city. And so I moved back to Dallas in 2019, and the pandemic happened in 20. And so here we are in 23. So at least 3 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so much life has happened, right?
Mhm. It has. Tell everybody like where you grew up and, a little bit about your life.
Yeah, so Marcia and I, we met in East Texas, which is where I'm from. We're from varying parts of East Texas. I'm from a town called Kilgore, which a lot of people know Kilgore through the oil boom that happened in the 40s, or the Rangerettes that are in, I think, the Macy's Day Parade every year. So I was born in East Texas, and which is considered the Bible Belt. So Marcia and I actually met through church.
Yes.
And we sang in the choir. I think Marcia actually, you played drums.
Played drums, sang in the choir. I did a little bit of everything.
And so there was a good group of us around the same age, and we found a lot of synergy in sharing what our experiences were being young adults and figuring out our way. So we became friends, and we've been friends, since then. That was like back in the early mid 90s. Now we're in 2023, so almost 30 years ago.
Yeah,
that's a long time, isn't it? When you put a number to it.
I didn't even think about it.
Almost 30 years ago.
Being that long.
And
wow.
Here we are, living back I've lived in Los Angeles and then moved to Europe for some time, and now back in Texas. So and it's good to reconnect and see people that have been in our experience for a number of years, and realize that we still have the connection of friendship and camaraderie and understanding and supporting each other as we grow through life.
Exactly. So, like, we check up on each other. We may not see each other. We don't even talk every day, but we do check up on each other here and there. So I'm just like so happy to be at this beautiful place that you have here. Like, what this is where, okay, you are married. Tell us a little bit about you and your husband.
So yeah, Joseph and I, we got married in 2017 in Los Angeles, and we relocated back to Dallas in 2019, and we decided to acquire this piece of property shortly after we moved back. And we've been developing it as a place for healing for me, because I love gardening. So I know that being in nature really does impact a lot. And so in 2020, right, at the top of the pandemic, we were able to acquire this property. It's about 22 acres on a flooded stone quarry. We named it Lake August Gardens, which is a name. His dad's name is August, and so we named it after his dad. And so we've been developing it in memory of him. He actually passed away in 2018, which was part of our relocating back to this part of the nation to be close to family. And so when we acquired this property, we thought we'd keep his name alive. So we named it after him. He loves bass fishing. And so on this stone quarry here, there's tons of bass fish in there. So all of these things kind of remind us of home, of family, and of why we're here. So we're developing this property as a full circle moment for both of us. Joseph really loves cooking and hospitality, and I love gardening and nature. And having been a self-mastery coach, I know that, we formed a affirmation, but meditation and yoga and those different things in nature really is healing. Yes. And so we wanted to create a place to bring people together and also for healing. So
awesome. That is so great. Like, I'm thinking about where would I stay out here in a little tent because it's so nice out here.
Yeah, definitely. We want to accommodate, people to come out, whether it's for a weekend, short stay, long term. We, people can RV or they can camp out. If I know a lot of people love to camp, so we've created some manicured areas where people can actually set up their tents and camp and hang out and wake up to the rising sun and go to sleep under the stars. So it's a beautiful place out here. Just east of Dallas, probably about 50 minutes from downtown.
Yeah, you can get out the city and just come and just be peace. Yeah. This is nice.
And it's been very healing. When I saw your initial podcast, Still Standing, which really kind of talked about, what you went through with your health, over the past years, coupled with, isolation that a lot of us experienced with COVID, and then also the passing of your mother, like just a whole lot within 2 or 3 years, right? I thought it would be great for us to at least have a conversation about how I found how, nature can be very healing for us.
Yeah. So what would you say are some of the tough times that you went through in these, last couple of years, and then you got to this part of your life?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about life as a whole, none of us have a recipe for how we should live. We just have to figure it out as we go. And life, is always presenting challenges, whether it's work situations or living situations. There's always a need to feed that beast, right? Which is living.
Yeah.
Which seems unfortunate that we have to do these things in order to live, but what I found is that there's lessons in all of these experiences that we have, whether it is starting a new job or having tenure on a job and choosing to take a different direction, which I've done a number of times. And those have been presented with some challenges, but they've also been presented with a lot of excitement.
I'm glad you said that because I stayed on the job for like 14 years.
Yeah.
And after that, it was just like, I'm trying to find myself, and people want to tell you moving around too much, you're doing too much. And like, who says you're supposed to stay somewhere forever? You know what I'm saying? It's like you're finding yourself, and people want you to stay stuck in what they feel like is the good job that you got to stay and get pension. And I understand that if you can do that and you be happy doing that, but everybody's not happy with just that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems, from my experience, life is always presenting an opportunity for us to step out into the unknown. And I actually, created a unique relationship with being in the unknown. A lot of people say that, being in the unknown is fearful. And I found that the unknown creates a lot of opportunity for growth, for expansion, for unique experiences that you haven't had. And so, I found that when other people would see that, your life is maybe desirable that's great for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we all have like a mechanism in us that wants us to continue moving forward on our journey, on our path.
Right.
And, you know, whether life presents circumstances in a way that we have to make hard choices, or if we're excited about having enough confidence to step out and try something that we've always wanted to try, whether it's traveling or living in a different city, or, you know, just taking up a new hobby, right?
Right.
Or artistically expressing in a new way. I think we are the ones that get to step into that unknown and create a world where others can self-reflect and say that it's good, bad, great,
Right.
right? But it's our experience to learn and grow. So that's kind of what I've learned. And I know a lot of our family and friends, they want us to do well and succeed. And sometimes their perception of where we are in life is perceived as success for them.
Mm-hmm.
But we're the only ones that can determine, you know, what's next for us,
Right.
what we would like to be doing. And so I always say, be unleashed to be in the unknown and take chance. I mean, we only have this life to live, right?
That part.
And so, you know, when we even look at some of the challenges that we've gone through, if we have the creative mind, the wherewithal, and the confidence to step into a new opportunity, like, why not do it?
Right.
And it only matters what we think at that point, right?
Right. Exactly. So you use the nature to help people in their healing process. Like, so if let's just say I'm feeling like I'm in a stage of depression
Yep.
or something I can't get out of, like, how do you help a person navigate through that?
So I was just, you know, life is always a self-reflection. So what I found is that, you know, I started gardening when I was in my early adolescence, maybe 11, 12, 13. I fell in love with gardening. And for me at that time, it was very tumultuous because, you know, my dad self-medicated. He was a Purple Heart veteran who served in Vietnam. And so it was, you know, him dealing with his demons, if you will, really had an impact on us as children. It was, you know, very difficult. And so my outlet was gardening. You know, I fell in love with plants and nature and seeing things grow and thrive. And I didn't know at the time that that was healing some of the traumas that I was experiencing. But, you know, as I got older and I looked back, I realized that immersing myself in that creative expression of gardening and landscape design really was therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me a point of focus, which we talked about earlier, was a point of focus that I was excited about. So, you know, there are probably many people, even some who are, you know, looking at this podcast today who had maybe a tumultuous upbringing. You know, maybe their childhood wasn't so great, and there's probably still unresolved traumas from that.
Right.
What I found is like working in nature and really your passion. I mean, I know that nature is natural for us. I mean, we eat food, we grow food, food provides clothes for us, you know. So nature yields a lot to support us in living. But actually working with nature for me was healing because it gave me a point of focus that was outside the paradigm of, you know, the situation with my dad and just the struggles of being in the South in the 70s and 80s. I have 4 other siblings, so we didn't come from any great means, and to have, you know, his PTSD compound the complexities was a lot to process.
Yeah.
And so nature for me, gardening was an escape. And then it was also a creative expression to actually see something that you can plant go to fruition. When I look back on it, it was very therapeutic. It was healing. And so now I realize and recognize, you know, being almost 50 years old, how nature, even over the last 30 years since I've known you, I think when I met you, I had a landscape design company. But I've continued to garden, even though, you know, I've been a recording artist working in Hollywood and lived abroad. Nature was always, whether it was gardening, having a small patio garden, or a garden in a yard at a home that I had purchased, it gave me an opportunity to immerse myself in something that I loved, that created excitement, that was positive, high vibrations, and it was healing. So if there were traumas or disruptions that happened along the way, at least I had that outlet that could ground me back to what I loved
That
about
makes
life.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. That's that makes a whole lot of sense. Like, cause some people don't realize that their peace can come through something that makes them happy. Sometimes what makes you happy you is really not making you happy. It's just for the moment, alcohol, drugs, whatever. But when you really find something that you love to do that gives you peace, you should really tap into that to get out of that state that you're
Yeah.
in. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, a go-to. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different vices out there that people find themselves leveraging as an escape,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes those can be more harmful than helpful, right?
Right.
But I do think we all have within us an ambition and a passion um, to do or to express in a way that provides service for others. And like that's kind of how I see gardening and nature, whether it's landscape design or just doing a flower arrangement from the garden, that allows me to be of service to others. So as much as it's of service to me to be out in the element, to be, operating in my passion, I think the outcome of me operating in my passion creates an opportunity for me to be of service to others, which is very fulfilling and creates a sense of happiness, right? To be a contribution. And so I would say, if there are folk who escape through vices that, if you can look at those vices now and ask yourself, how are these means that I'm escaping of service to others? And if your response is that there's not service that it's providing, there may be another opportunity for you to express in a way in alignment with your excitement, happiness, joy, and desire, and maybe creativity that can ultimately be of service to others.
Okay.
And I know you and I went to church, and there was one scripture that Miss Jeter would always say is that your gifts will make room for you, right?
Exactly.
And so that always comes to mind for me when I'm doing something that I love that can also be of service to not only myself, but my community, my family, my friends. That makes room for me to do more of that.
And sometimes you have to really look within yourself, because me talking in front of people, this wasn't going to happen with the old me. No, I'm not trying to be in front of people, but I feel like this is a service, because on the other side of the camera is helping somebody with something that they may be going through. So I definitely get what you're saying about being of service. Like, that's an important thing for me. I want to help people and inspire people, so that's why I'm doing this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I learned with gardening that I applied to many things, even in business, is, routine, right? I'm sure for you to get back to health, there's probably things that you had to do, and you had to commit to those things. And sometimes committing to a routine can be a challenge. But what I found is, with nature and gardening, if I would go and purchase a plant that I want to see to fruition, maybe I want to see a rose bloom, right? And I got it, and it was just a bare root, and I need to put it in the ground and feed it and fertilize it and make sure that it stayed hydrated or watered in order to meet the end result, which would be the bloom that I could then cut, bring indoors, or give to my mom for Mother's Day or a friend, right? There is a commitment that I must make in order to make sure that the rose gets to fruition. And since gardening is a part of my passion, that routine actually sets up willpower for me to get up every day to make sure the rose is fed, to make sure that it's hydrated, to make sure that the leaves are healthy, to make sure that it's in an appropriate spot to get to that point of fruition. So I think if people can overlay that concept, finding what their passion is and seeing how they naturally take routine actions inside that passion, how can they overlay those actions that they take into something else that they might need to do, like health or work? Maybe if you're working on a project and you need to get it to completion. What do you do from a place of excitement that you can see how it benefits getting it to fruition and getting the end result, and then take that willpower and you can integrate it into something that may not be so exciting to do. But you can see what the end result will be if you take simple actions every day. So gardening really kind of helps me that way too. I can see how I love doing things naturally and unreasonably, in nature. But then if I'm faced with a challenge where I have to take action, I can do it with joy, understanding that the impact is going to be of service and we're going to reach fruition.
It also takes patience. Huh?
And it takes patience. You realize that, of course, you realize that a rose isn't going to bloom tomorrow, right? You got to be patient.
It's a process.
It's a process. And so all of those things in nature kind of overlap much of what we do, whether it's on a job or dealing with, unfriendly or unkind family members, but still maintaining a relationship. You can take what you love and see another way of being.
That's good. That's good stuff. So you told me you're having something here. Tell people about what you're getting ready to do.
Yeah, so as I had mentioned, we've been here at Lake August Gardens for about 3 years now. So we're finally going to host our first event. It's going to be November 11th. It is called Harvest Moon. And Harvest Moon is an opportunity for people to come out, really connect with others who are grateful for what they've experienced in life or even this year, and then just really affirm what they'd like to live into going into the next year. We're kind of in the last quarter. We're headed into the last quarter of the year, and so a lot of people will be reflecting on what 2023 has been and looking forward to 2024. So Harvest Moon brings everyone together for that. The event's going to start around 4 o'clock, and then it's going to go into the evening. As the sun sets, we're going to have a lantern ceremony where people can take their affirmations and intentions and light a lantern, and we'll release lanterns over the quarry here. And we'll have food and activities, and so it should be a really good time.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah. There are also opportunities if people want to camp. They can also book a campsite and stay overnight and wake up to the rising sun the following day.
Cool. And you guys will get to see what it kind of looks like around here once, either before this or after, however we're going to do it. But it is beautiful around here. It's peaceful around here. So I would definitely make sure you guys know when he's getting it done and it's about to happen, however they need to contact you or whatever. Where can people reach you, or where can they follow you at? Yes,
they can follow us on Lake August Gardens. We're on Instagram and Facebook. That's Lake August, like the month August, and Gardens. My name is Lamont Wheat, so I am the only Lamont Wheat on the internet. I was actually named after Lamont on Sanford & Son. So my mom named me after Fred Sanford's son, Lamont. And when I realized and set my profiles and stuff up back when social media became a hit, you would always have to find a name.
Yeah.
And my name was never taken. So one day I did a Google search and there are no other Lamont Wheats on the internet.
One of a kind.
So you can find me by my name, Lamont Wheat, or you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We also have a YouTube channel, which is Lake August Gardens. Okay. And we hope to see you at the Harvest Moon event November 4th.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that is another podcast of Still Standing. I appreciate Lamont for being here with me, allowing me to come to his beautiful property and showing you guys what it's like to heal in nature. So,
well, here's to you, Marsha.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Still standing.
Still standing.
Cheers.
Cheers.